Bentornati! Welcome back to Dwarf Fortress for Beginners, the series in which I teach you how to play Dwarf Fortress using mostly in-game tutorials and guides, plus a few tips and tricks that I picked up in the last 10 years. This is the first of 2 videos about trading. In this one I'm going to discuss the production of crafts and their value, and in the next video I'm going to talk about the trading interface itself and give you some advice about what to buy from the trade caravan. I generally assumed that you have followed the interactive tutorial and have at least a working knowledge of the topics covered in the previous episodes in this series, but since the in-game tutorial mentions trading and crafts at the very end, I fear some might have skipped past it, so let's start by reviewing that. So the end of the interactive tutorial says, preparing for the caravan. You may need supplies before the coming of winter. To trade with the autumn caravan, you must build a trade depot from the build menu. You need something of value to trade. Crafts are an easy way to make a lot of trade goods quickly. Make the appropriate workshop with workshops, crafts. An obvious material to use to make the craft is rock. If you dig down enough layers, you will find a near infinite amount of boulders of various kinds, as well as rough gems, if you are lucky. Gems can be cut at the jeweler's workshop, and crust them on crafts and other items to add even more value. Alright, strictly speaking, you don't have to do anything in advance. Your first trade caravan will arrive at the beginning of autumn and will not leave until a full month has passed. They'll even wait patiently for you to build a trade depot on the fly if you don't have one. On the other hand, if you don't start crafting something of value before the caravan arrives, you probably won't have a lot of stuff to offer for trading. So we'll start by making sure that we have a trade depot ready. You probably already have one, but I prepared this save just to show you. So build menu, trade depot. I'm gonna put mine right here on the surface. And it requires 3 basic materials. I'm just gonna build mine out of wood. It is worth noting that even though your first few caravans will only bring pack animals, at some point they'll start wanting to bring in entire wagons. Wagons are the only multi-tile entity in the entire game at the moment. It's a 3x3 tile entity, so it requires a 3 tiles wide space to get through. Now in this case I built on the surface, so there's absolutely no problem, but I thought it was useful to mention should you want to put your trade depot underground or behind a wall. Now this guide in here also mentions crafts built at the crafts workshop and gems cut at the jeweler's workshop. So let's make sure that we have one of each. As you can see in here, I do have a crafts workshop and the jeweler's workshop. If you don't, make them now. They're really easy to find. Just open the build menu, workshops, here's the crafts, and here is the jeweler. And while I'm here, let me say that there's good reasons to have all the workshops available in your fortress, even if you don't currently plan on using them. But this relates to the creation of artifacts. We will discuss this in detail in a future episode. Now, before I get into the details of item value, I'll tell you right away what in my opinion is the best thing to do, in my experience, cutting gems. It's by far the easiest way to produce valuable items to trade early on in the game. Now, how did I get to this conclusion? Alright, let's get into the nitty-gritty. All items have value. Even refuse has value. Admittedly, really low, but it has value. So let me show you, for example, in here, if I click on a mussel shell, I don't see any value. Why is that? The value of an item would normally be shown next to the weight in its info sheet. If you don't see the value, just like me, if I click on any item right now, I don't see any value. Let me actually click on something that should have value. For example, cloth, right? Should have value. I don't see any value. Why is that? It's because I don't have a broker appointed. So if you are in this same situation, you just click in here on this little crown, which opens the Nobles and Administrators tab. In here, you want to click on the plus sign next to the broker. This way we can assign a broker. The dwarves that appear at the top of the list are gonna be the best suited for this job. If you started the game like me in this save with the interactive tutorial, the one at the top is gonna be your expedition leader, and that's because of their very high social skills. The second in line, however, is more skilled in appraising. As you can see in here, my miner here is a skilled appraiser. Appraiser is the skill needed to correctly analyze items and evaluate their trade value. So I'm going to appoint my second in line here because he's a skilled appraiser, and now he is my broker. Now that I have a broker, if I click on anything, I will start seeing a value. Now in this case, this is the combined value of all the items in this bin. If I click on the magnifying glass on an item inside this container, now I can see the actual detailed value of this piece of cloth. If I go back in here to validate the fact that even refuse has value, well, it has value. It's 0. Really low, but it's there. Alright, that was kind of a joke, but that's just because I'm kind of opposed to the whole shell crafts thing, which is kind of a meme, I understand. It's just a minor gripe of mine. Now, should you for some reason have no dwarf skilled in appraising, don't worry about it, just appoint any dwarf as broker. They will slowly learn on their own. You might just from time to time see a value, like for example this bin, wait, what was it? This one. Like this bin that has a tilde next to it, it means that the value is approximate. So, all items have a value, but crafted items have even more value. The final value of most of your products will be affected by, in order, the type of item you're making, the material you are using, the quality of the craft's dwarfship, and lastly, the presence of decorations. So, different types of items have different value, regardless of all the other things. Let me show you right in here. I prepped just for this a chair, claystone chair, has a value of 10. Then a claystone statue, so absolutely same material, just a different type of item, and even the cost in raw material is the same, it's one claystone boulder, but the final value in this case is 25. The quality for both is base quality, and they have no decoration whatsoever. This wheelbarrow, on the other hand, it's worth 50. Now this is not because wood is more valuable than stone, it isn't. It's just that a wheelbarrow happens to be more valuable than a statue at base quality. At this point you might be thinking, alright, then I should make lots of wheelbarrows and statues maybe. That might not be such a clever idea though, because there's a few more factors to consider. First of all is weight. If I look at a stone statue, you can see that the weight is 162. A caravan will only accept from you what they can carry home. They have a limit on the maximum weight on the stuff that they are gonna accept, so you won't be able to trade a large batch of stone statues, for example. Second, items like crafts or mugs are crafted up to 3 items at a time from a single raw material. So while a wheelbarrow is going to produce a value of 50 per log, the same log can be used to craft 3 wooden cups that are much lighter and can be worth between 10 and 30 each. Also, they are much easier to store and move around as they go into bins. So generally speaking, at least at the very beginning when you don't have many skilled dwarves, small, light items that you can mass produce will probably be your best bet. Let's talk about material now. The material used applies a multiplier on the base value. The humble wood, bone and common stone all have a ×1 multiplier, but for example, copper has a ×2 multiplier, while gold multiplies the base value of an item by 30. This means that a ring made of granite, a common stone, will have a value of 10. This is before any quality is applied. A copper ring instead will have a value of 20, but a golden ring will be worth 300. What about this quality then? Most of the items you make, such as furniture, crafts, clothes, armor, tools, weapons, etc., will have a quality level associated with them. This quality level directly depends on the skills of the dwarf that made the item, plus there's a little bit of a random factor. A dwarf with no skill, or dabbling, which is the same as saying no level in that specific skill, will mostly produce items with no quality, whereas a dwarf that is legendary in the relevant skill will produce items of exceptional quality very reliably. The common base quality levels are base quality, which means no quality. All the items that I showcased in here are base quality, because it just says it is a claystone throne. Well crafted, finely crafted, superior quality, and exceptional quality. Exceptional is the highest quality level achievable by skill alone. Every exceptional item crafted then has a 1 in 3 chances of ending up being a masterwork instead. Masterwork items are of course worth a lot more. At some point in the past, quality acted as a simple multiplier on value, just like the material multiplier, but that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. Still, based on my observations, an exceptional item can be worth 2 or 3 times as much as a base quality one, with items that have the lower base value seeing the higher increase. How to make your most skilled dwarves concentrate on one thing, however, is outside the scope of this episode. Lastly, just because the tutorial mentioned it, I'll point out that decorations, such as encrusted gems, also add value to an item. This value is mostly additive, which means that the value of the gem is added to the value of the item, with a little bit more in there, but in most cases you'll be better off turning those extra items into their own crafts rather than decorations. Alright, so now that we know about value, what should we craft for trading? Well, let's look at the materials that we can reasonably procure in large amounts early on in the game. Wood logs can be procured in large amounts simply by chopping trees. Stone boulders that you get from simply mining into solid stone. Mussel shells, assuming you have a river or any other kind of body of water nearby. And gems. Both wood, stone, bone or shell can be turned into crafts at the crafts workshop. Items such as amulets, bracelets, crowns, earrings, figurines are all considered to be crafts. Now, if you click on your crafts workshop, you click on add new task, select rock, and then make rock crafts, one of your dwarves will grab a stone boulder, bring it in here, and turn it into 1 to 3 such items at random. In this case, I wasn't particularly lucky, I got just 1 claystone ring. Let's try again. Make crafts. There you go, this time I got 2 crafts from a single boulder. So it's 1 to 3, on average you get 2 crafts per boulder. And this is also true for wood, bone, shell, horn, etc. If instead of selecting the generic crafts, you opt for something specific, for example, you say I want a bracelet, in this case you will only get 1 item. So if you go specific, like bracelet or crown or amulet, you get 1 for each boulder, so 1 for each raw material. If you go for the generic crafts, it's gonna be 2 on average. All the materials that I just mentioned also have the same exact material multiplier, so in the end, it doesn't really matter what you use in terms of value, you should probably use the one that you have the most of, or the one that you do not intend on using on something else. Now, how much value exactly will you get out of these crafts? You could ask. Well, not really a lot, all things considered, at least compared to cut gems. Even though cut gems are not really affected by quality, meaning they have no quality level, commonly found gems can range in value when cut between the 40 of these sardonyxes to, let's say, the 400 of these green tourmalines. And I'm not even talking about rare precious gems like emeralds, rubies or diamonds, will be of course worth even more. Now take a look just at the estimate value of the items contained in this gem bin. It's already around 2000 and I haven't really pushed this really far. Plus, you're going to find plenty of gems as you dig down to expand your fortress anyway, right? Right? Because this is Dwarf Fortress. You are digging down, right? Jokes aside, while it may seem easier to keep expanding horizontally in the first soil layer, there are so many benefits to digging down in solid stone, and a variety of precious gems is one of them. An extra benefit is that should an elven caravan visit your fort the next spring, they'll have no problems accepting gems, while they would be seriously offended if offered wood, bone or shell crafts. But more on that on the next episode, where we're gonna take a look at the actual trading. I'm going to release a separate video, probably in shorts form, to showcase exactly how much more value you can get out of cut gems compared to crafts. Just to give you an idea, in the footage that I recorded, I ran 4 identical workshop setups using all the tricks I know to ensure that 4 dwarves would spend dedicated as much time as possible working on their respective crafts. And as expected, the gem cutter produced so much more value than all the others. It actually produced almost as much values as the other 3 combined. Alright, this concludes our episode on item value. Stay tuned for the second part of this, in which I'm going to show you how the trading is conducted and more importantly give you a few tips about what to buy off the merchants. For now though, thank you so much for watching and I hope to see you again in the next episode. Alla prossima!